Hello, welcome to Unacademy IAS. Welcome to another session of the Hindu News Analysis. This is Shyam Kaggod here, taking up the analysis for the date 26th November 2025. Now, before I start the discussion, please do let me know that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Those who are present in the session, please give the confirmation. Am I audible and visible for all of you? Done. Let's start. So, in today's news analysis, I've taken a total of 8 articles, all of them from the daily edition of Hindu newspaper. The discussion will be comprehensive in order to help you answer the questions in prelims as well as mains examination. If you're liking this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start the discussion, a very important announcement. I know a lot of you are preparing for the civil services examination 2026 and 2027. In order to ace the examination in the first attempt, just ensure that your static portion coverage will be very comprehensive. We'll have current affairs update, the right current affairs update. For example, at Unacademy, we have a program called as UCAN, Unacademy's Current Affairs Navigator, wherein on month to month basis, the English team faculties will be taking care of the current affairs separately in totaling 30 hours of coverage. So, in addition to the static portion, current affairs, reading material, the prelims as well as a mains test series. Just ensure that you are covering all these basics. Once you enroll into our courses, which is available at a price of 19,999, all of this will be available to you. Those who are interested, check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description. Let's start the discussion. The first article is associated with Trump-MbS Summit. $1 trillion amongst friends. Now, MBS is a short form of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. Now, what are the important points? Let's understand the historical evolution of relations between USA and Saudi Arabia. USA recognized Saudi Arabia back in the year 1931, and after 1931 recognition, there were there were multiple discussions associated with exploration of hydrocarbons in this particular deserted region, that is in Saudi Arabian region. American company was given a license, was given the permission to explore the presence of the crude oil in this particular region, and this company over a period of time had a joint venture, basically became the Aramco company. But apart from this, another very important point you need to remember in the context of USA Saudi relation is the agreement very famously referred to as Quincy Agreement. Quincy Agreement. The Quincy Agreement that was signed on board of the ship Quincy between the President of USA, that is basically Mr. Roosevelt, and the Prince Abdul Aziz. Abdul Aziz. This Quincy Agreement is also a basic argument or basically associated with providing security for the crude oil, wherein the government of USA guaranteed security for this particular region, and in return, the region, that is Saudi Arabia, agreed to sell crude oil to the American market. And please understand, this is a time period 60 years ago, 70 years ago, 80 years ago. This is a time period when most of the crude oil production used to happen in this particular region. Today, it is not the same. For example, today, if you look at the major crude oil producers in the global market, thanks to the shale technology, USA today is not so much dependent on the crude oil imports which are coming from the Middle Eastern region, specifically Saudi Arabia. Today, if you look at who are the major producers of the crude oil, is the USA, which is the major producer of the crude oil as well as the export of the crude oil in the international market. India imports a lot of this particular crude oil from the Middle Eastern countries as well. Now let's go forward. Despite signing this particular agreement, which was initially for a period of 60 years, again renewed in the year 2005, there have been lot of ups and downs in the relationship between USA and Saudi Arabia. Lot of ups and downs. For example, back in the year 1973, when there was a war that was taking place in the Middle East, when Syria attacked Israel, USA supported Israel. USA supplied lot of defense equipment to Israel. And that was the time period during this particular war that is basically referred to as Ramadan war. The Saudi Arabia imposed an embargo on the supply of crude oil to the USA market. And that was the time period when the crude oil prices and the international market shot up, which led to a lot of economic problems in the USA market as well. In addition to the 1973 issue, there have been multiple other instances as well. For example, the 9/11 terror attack. During this particular 9/11 terror attack, this particular attack, multiple nationals who are from Saudi Arabia were implicated. And this actually led to a thaw in the relationship between both these countries. In addition to this, the most recent 2018 killing of a American journalist, Mr. Jamal Khashoggi, that also led to certain differences in the opinions of the US administration as well as the administration or the kingdom, Saudi Arabian kingdom. The previous administration, which was headed by Mr. Joe Biden, did not provide so much of impetus or did not provide so much of importance to the Saudi Arabian king as well as the crown prince, because the allegation has been that the US intelligence authorities state that this killing of the US resident was also a writer who was the critic of the policies of the Saudi Arabia. It was basically ordered by the crown prince, Mr. MBS. So, because of these particular reasons, in recent times, the relations between USA as well as Saudi Arabia have not been so much good, especially under the previous administration. But cut to the current administration, that is Mr. Donald Trump. When Mr. Donald Trump was the president back in USA between 2016 and 2020, and in the current presidency, that is in 2024 onwards, if you look at the first country to which the USA president visited in the first term as well as the second term, it is Saudi Arabia. The first country to which the USA president, Mr. Donald Trump, visited, it is Saudi Arabia. And whenever you look at the first visits conducted or let's say undertaken by the leaders of countries such as USA, it tells a lot regarding what is the importance of this country in the eyes of the current US administration. So there is a very close relationship that is existing between the crown prince of Saudi Arabia as well as the president of USA. Now, very recently, the crown prince visited USA. The crown prince, Mr. MBS, visited USA. This was the second visit after 2018. That is essentially 2018. After that, there was a new administration. Mr. Biden was not very open to having relations with Mr. MBS. And now the current administration, Mr. Donald Trump, has very close relations, has a lot of investments, right, associated with the Saudi Arabia as well as the crown prince. So after 2018, this was the visit that was conducted by Mr. MBS. Now, what are the important points? What are the important points and what is the implication to India or regarding India associated with this particular visit? You need to understand all of this. Let's go one by one. Mr. MBS visited USA, was given a very warm welcome by the president of USA. And during this particular visit, first very important point, investments to the tune of $1 trillion have been promised by Saudi Arabia. Investments to the tune of $1 trillion. I hope you understand the importance. $1 trillion, which is almost closer to the GDP of the country. $1 trillion worth of investments have been promised by the crown prince to be done in the American market. That's the first very important outcome. Second very important outcome, the president of USA now has agreed to sell F-35s, F-35 fighter jets to the Saudi Arabia now. F-35 defense acquisition or defense sale has been approved. And this is important, by the way. If you look at the earlier administrations in USA, were not very open to selling these kind of advanced defense equipments to Saudi Arabia. The concern on their part is Saudi Arabia has very close relations with China as well. Saudi Arabia has very close relations with Russia, and very recently it has become very close to China, especially in the previous administration of Mr. Joe Biden. Now, the concern is that if these advanced fighter jets are supplied to, let's say, Saudi Arabia, what if their technology, that is the technology associated with F 35, will be made accessible or Chinese authorities will get their hands on F 35? That has been a concern. And because of this, these latest equipments have not been sold to Saudi Arabia by the previous administration. But now the current administration has okayed the sale of F 35. Having said so, there is one more very important aspect you need to understand. What is Israel's viewpoint associated with this? What is Israel's argument in the context of the sale of F 35? The Israel government has opposed the sale of F 35 to Saudi Arabia. Reason being, Israel in this particular region is another country which has, right, let's say the F 35 fighter jets. According to one estimates, Israel has 45 F 35s, and these are by far the most advanced fighter jets, by the way. So, Israel has 45 F 35s, and Saudi Arabia had demanded the sale of 48 F 35s. How many have been sold? The agreement is not clear associated with that. You will come to know as the discussions will be revealed over a period of time. So Israel is opposed to the sale of F 35s to Saudi Arabia. That's a second very important agreement or second very important point. Third very important point, now Saudi Arabia has been recognized as one of the major non NATO ally. Major non NATO ally. A major non NATO ally. There are 18 countries. In addition to Saudi Arabia, it will become 19th major non NATO ally. Right. So these are certain very important announcements as well as the outcomes of the agreements that have been signed very recently between USA as well as Saudi Arabia. But apart from this, what is the importance of this particular visit? What is the importance? Importance is this. In this particular region, now Saudi Arabia is gaining prominence as a representative of Muslim communities or Muslim countries. Have a look at what has been the achievement of Mr. MBS in the context of having relations with Mr. Donald Trump. Mr. MBS has already persuaded Mr. Trump to drop sanctions against Syria's new regime. I'm pretty sure all of you heard of this. There is a change in the regime in Syria. Earlier, right, the ruler or president, right, basically escaped. Now there is a new president in Syria, and this particular president, Ahmad al-Shara, Ahmad al-Shara, earlier under the US administration was the most wanted terrorist. Most wanted terrorist. Now, this particular person has become the president and very recently visited USA. It met very important dignitaries in USA, held negotiations, talks with the USA administration. So, one of the reasons why this particular change in the attitude, change in the approach is because of the negotiations which have been conducted, the talks which have been conducted by MBS. Not only this, MBS has also asked for a stronger American intervention to end Sudanese civil war. Why? What is the connection to Sudan and Saudi Arabia? If you look at the map, right, if you look at the map, you'll realize that on one side, this is the Red Sea. On one side, you have Saudi Arabia, and on the other side, you have Sudan. Please look at the map later. On one side, you have Red Sea, and in the middle, you have Red Sea. On one side, you have Sudan, and the other side, you have Saudi Arabia. The concern of Saudi Arabia is that if the events that are taking place in the Sudan are not settled very quickly, if the disturbances continue to happen, basically there'll be a spillage and the migration might happen from this particular country to at Saudi Arabia. That is the reason they want a very quick settlement by government intervention of USA in Sudan civil war as well. And not just this, even Iran's president has spoken to MBS and has asked the MBS to talk to Mr. Donald Trump so that the nuclear talks can be started all over again. Renegotiations can be picked up again. So these are certain very important points that you need to remember in the context of the USA, MBS or USA and Saudi Arabia relation. Now, overall, what is the impact on India? If there is a state visit like this, what is the connection to India? The first very important point is the good relations between USA and Saudi Arabia will work out in favor of India with certain concerns. Work out in the form of what? Good relations will stabilize good relations will stabilize this particular region, will stabilize crude oil supply in the international market, because both of these countries put together, that is Saudi Arabia as well as USA, account for around 32% of the total crude oil supply in the global market. Stable crude oil prices, good for India. Stability in the Middle East, good for India. In fact, the president of USA wanted the Saudi Arabia to sign Abraham Accords. Abraham Accords basically is the deals, or let's say agreements, which are signed between Israel and other countries in the Middle East, which will normalize and recognize each other. Saudi Arabia doesn't recognize Israel. Israel doesn't recognize Saudi Arabia. So if these Abraham Accords are signed between both of these countries, the situations will normalize. And this is good for India because there are multiple projects which government of India is interested to implement in this region. For example, India Middle East Corridor, IMEC. Right? So there are various areas where India would be interested in stabilization of these particular relations. But having said so, there is one very important concern. What is the concern here? USA is having more relations or better relations with Pakistan. USA having better relations with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia having relations with Pakistan. That is a cause of concern for us. Very recently, that is in the year 2025 itself, there is a security agreement which has been signed between both of these countries, that is Pakistan as well as Saudi Arabia. Right? So that is a cause of concern for India. So there are certain areas where India can look at and be happy because of these kind of relations improving. But at the same point of time, there are areas of concern as well. So these are certain very important points associated with the first article. Now, based on the discussion that we have had, please take up a practice question, descriptive answer writing practice question. Write a note on revitalization of USA Saudi strategic cooperation in recent years. How the strengthening of this partnership could influence India's energy security as well as geopolitical interest. You're supposed to write in 250 words for 15 marks. Done? Please take up this assignment question. Practice. Now, let's go to the next article. Decoding personality rights in the age of artificial intelligence. Decoding the personality rights. In recent times, you must have seen multiple celebrities going to different courts in India and filing for getting personality rights, or filing a case or filing an application to get the approval to control their personality rights. It could be superstar Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, Aishwarya Rai, or Hrithik Roshan for that matter, or right, multiple singers. They have approached the High Court, filed an application, and got their personality rights approved. What is the reason? What is the basic idea of a personality right? Please understand, the argument here is that, or the concept here is that, there is an individual, there is a person, and this particular person in the public domain is known for certain traits. When you hear or look at certain traits, or when you assume certain traits, you will automatically associate these particular traits to identify a personality. Right? It could be the sound, it could be the mannerism, it could be the way they communicate, or let's say the body mannerisms, etc. So whenever you look at basically the mannerisms like this or the personality traits, you will directly associate these personality trait with a personality or a celebrity. For example, how many of you remember, or let's say how many of you will understand when I say the term jackass? Right? I know a lot of you will associate the term jackass with a celebrity. Or if I basically utter the term, right, let's say bidu, right, what are you doing bidu? right, in Hindi, you will realize that, okay, this is associated with a particular celebrity. But now the concern is that when these kind of personality traits are misused, what if these particular personality traits are misused? And in recent times, with evolution of artificial intelligence, and don't get me wrong here, is artificial intelligence needed? Of course, yes. Is it going to improve the quality of life? Of course, yes. Nobody can deny that. But at the same point of time, there are dangers of evolving artificial intelligence as well. For example, using AI to create a deep fake video. Using AI to create a deep fake video. What if I create a deep fake video, again hypothetically, of let's say a very important personality? It could be a celebrity, it could be a cricketer, it could be a politician, and they're endorsing something. They are right criticizing somebody, or they are basically right giving a fake information, etc. That can spread like a wildfire and lead to certain unsavory outcomes. And that can lead to a lot of violence in the society as well. So there are certain concerns associated with the privacy, associated with misuse of right, let's say the personality traits, or right abusing these particular personality traits, or creating morphed images, explicit images, and getting them circulated, etc. So there have been certain concerns raised with the evolution of AI, and that is the precise reason these particular celebrities, multiple of them, have approached judiciary and have gotten their personality rights approved in their name. Now, in case of India, right, what is the level of the protection provided? Please understand this. There is no uniform law in India. I'll repeat. There is no uniform law, uniform or unified law. There is no single law which will provide protection to these particular personalities against misuse or abuse of their personality rights. Of course, in certain countries, there are certain laws. For example, in case of USA, it is generally treated, the personality rights are treated as property. The personality rights are treated as a property. Whereas in European Union, the personality rights are treated as a privacy matter. In case of India, there are laws. Intellectual property rights are there. For example, Copyright Act is there. But there is no unified law which will provide the protection, right, the protection to the personalities like this. So what is the situation in case of India right now? We basically use a hybrid model. Please remember the term. We basically use the hybrid model. Hybrid model in the sense what? In certain cases, we treat the personality rights as a privacy matter, and in certain cases, we treat it as a property matter. Property in the sense intellectual property. Right? So there is a hybrid model which has been followed in the case of India. So what is the writer trying to convey here? Writer is simply stating that because there is no unified framework that is followed in India, it creates a lot of right, burden on the judiciary to keep on taking up the cases and resolving these particular issues, issuing the order. And because there is no unified framework, it also creates a vacuum. It also creates a certain loopholes which can be misused or abused by various companies or various stakeholders in the market, where they will end up violating one or the other way the personality rights of the celebrity. And it is not just harming the image of the personalities. I hope you understand. If a particular, let's say, a celebrity, their voice is taken, their photo is taken, right? AI image is created, AI voice is created in endorsing, let's say, a lottery system, in endorsing, right? Let's say a betting app or betting platform. It's not just the damage that is going to be created to the celebrities, it is also going to hurt individuals such as you and me. Suddenly, I come to know that, okay, Mr. Sachin Tendulkar is endorsing a betting app, right? Mr. Sachin Tendulkar is endorsing a liquor brand. I would be influenced because my idol is Mr. Sachin Tendulkar. The argument is simple. It is not just hurting the celebrities. Celebrities' privacy is being, right, let's say, hurt here. Celebrities' image will be destroyed. celebrities' fundamental rights, that is under Article 21, will be, right, let's say, yeah, the affected here. But at the same point of time, individuals such as you and me will also be influenced, affected by all of this. So, the argument that has been put forward under this article by the writer is very simple. The government of India should consider all of these and bring out a unified framework. And as such, I hope you understand this particular point. As such, already the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technologies, MeitY has announced very recently a AI comprehensive plan that is basically having 7 pillars for effective or ethical use of artificial intelligence in India. A AI plan has been proposed, but we need to have a law. We need to have a unified framework at the end of that. So these are the points which have been provided in the article here. Now, based on this, let's solve the MCQ. Please solve it as soon as possible and do let me know the answer. Consider the following statements. The personality rights are exclusively protected under Information Technology Act of 2000. The personality rights protect anything that is uniquely identifying a person. Right? The personality rights are exclusively protected under IT Act of 2000? No, it is not protected under IT Act of 2000. A lot of you are saying option D. Personality rights protect anything that is uniquely identifying a person. Yes, the second statement is true. My dear, right? A lot of you are saying option D. No. Second statement is true. Personality rights protect anything that is uniquely identifiable to a person. For example, I used the term earlier, bidu. Right? Kya kar rahe ho, bidu? Right? You will realize I'm using the dialogue of which personality. If I simply say jhakas, you will understand which personality I'm talking about. If I simply utter a syllable or let's say only one sound, I, you will realize what personality I'm talking about. So I hope you understand, right? I hope you understand. These are essentially the, right, let's say any kind of a trait that you can associate with a celebrity, with a personality, right? That will be protected under the personality rights. Done? Right? So second statement is true. Right option for the question will be option B. Now, associated with this, I've given a descriptive question for you to practice. Evaluate the need for dedicated legislation in India that defines personality rights, mandates AI watermarking, and strengthens cross border collaboration. What is this idea of a mandatory AI watermarking? This is one of the proposals right now. A lot of times the videos get circulated, videos go viral, right, of somebody saying something, a celebrity endorsing something, but these are essentially AI generated videos. So there is a proposal which says if you have any kind of a AI generated video, you will have to mention that in the video. There has to be a watermark which says this is an AI generated video. Otherwise, people will never realize what is reality, what is a fake, is it a deep fake? People will never realize. And because of, right, let's say the kind of technology which all of us are using, the misinformation or disinformation can spread like a wildfire very, very quickly in the Indian market because of an AI generated video. Right? So there is a proposal that strengthen cross-border collaboration. What is the idea of a cross-border collaboration here? A lot of times, it is an AI video. This is a fake news, but you cannot take it down because either it is streamed from a VPN or VPN protection is provided, or it is uploaded using a foreign server, etc. That is essentially the concern here. Okay. So this is one more assignment for you. Please take it up. Next one, draft seed bill. What are the provisions under the draft seed bill and why? Right? Why many of these, right? Let's say farmer unions are opposed to this. Kisan morchas are opposed to this. Now, you don't have to look at the complete article. What I have done, and don't worry, after the session is over, download the PPT. Please look at the provisions once more. What are the important provisions proposed under the draft seed bill? It's a draft, by the way. What are the important provisions? It proposes to reform the process of registration to ensure availability of genuine seeds in India. One of the ways to improve the production, productivity, overall agriculture sector performance, etc., is to ensure that quality seeds are available. Quality seeds are available, right? Fake seeds are not available, or counterfeit seeds are not available. GM seeds are not allowed to be sold, etc. How do we ensure that? Under the draft seed bill, the government of India simply says anybody who is a distributor of the seeds, anybody who is the seller of the seeds, they will have to be registered. Is the point clear? They will have to be registered. Without registration, you are not allowed to conduct these kind of activities. And what if you are found to be violating the provisions of, let's say, there is a term called as major violations. Major violations. If you commit any kind of a major violations, according to the draft, there will be a huge amount of penalty on you. The penalty can start from 50,000 rupees. You can also be sent to prison for a period up to 3 years. So, if the major violations are conducted under the provisions, right, according to the provisions of the draft seed bill, there is a penalty on this. Second, it aims to curb the sale of spurious seeds. It will be replacing, please remember this, the Seeds Act of 1966 and Seeds Control Order of 1983. The argument of many of the companies is that the Seeds Act of 1966 has very old provisions. Look at this, 1966, and we are almost at the end of 2025, which means almost 60 years. Almost 60 years. So the law is a 60 years old law. You'll have to reform it. You'll have to bring in a new provision, new set of guidelines which are applicable to the current situation. And that has been the argument even put forward by the government of India. Because under the provisions of this, the government of India simply says, one, we are going to protect the interest of the farmers with the implementation of the seed. We are going to promote ease of doing business. We are going to modernize, right? Let's say the seed segment in the agriculture sector. We are going to promote research and development in this particular segment. Right, so these are some of the objectives with which the government of India has announced the draft seed bill 2025. And by the way, before I go forward, it is not the first time that the government of India has tried to introduce a draft seed bill in India. In fact, earlier in the year 2004, government of India introduced draft seed. In the year 2019, the government of India introduced a draft seed bill. But in both of these particular cases, the government of India had to withdraw these particular bills because there was an opposition from the farmers. Because there was an opposition from the farmers. So let's go forward. All the seed varieties that are used in India's agriculture sector, all of them should be registered. But when I say all the seed varieties, there is an exception provided. What is the exception? If the farmers get their own seeds, if the farmers sow and preserve their own seeds, they will use the seeds, right, which are stored by them to give it to some other farmer. In such cases, these regulations are not applicable. Is it okay? The farmer will have their own seeds. For example, if I cultivate a crop, I can get the seeds from the same crop. I don't have to go to the market and purchase the seeds again. So in such cases, the farmer, right, doesn't have to come under any kind of a, let's say, the provision or any kind of a condition which are used under the draft seed bill, right? The farmers to grow, sow, resow, save, use, exchange, share, or sell the seeds. But when I say sell the seeds, without any branding, because if you put a brand to your seeds and you want to sell it in the market, again, the conditions will come into application. You'll have to be registered. You will have to come under all the regulations. The dealers or distributors must be registered. The center may permit import of unregistered varieties, but there is a condition here. What's the condition? These unregistered variety of seeds can be used only for conducting research, and that too under controlled conditions. Under controlled conditions with government, right? Let's say overview. Central as well as state seed committees shall be set up. According to the provisions of the bill, if the central seed committee is set up, it will have 27 members. And the state seed committee, once it is set up, will have 15 members. And the role of the committee is to give recommendation, give advice to the center as well as the state government respectively. So everybody is okay. These are certain very important provisions of draft seed bill. Now, what is the contention? What are the objectives we have understood? What is a contention? Why, right? Let's say the farmer unions or Kisan Sabhas are opposed to this. Their contention is very simple. Is the government of India, by promoting registration of the companies, registration of the distributor, seller, etc., is the government of India promoting corporatization in the seed segment of agriculture? Is the government of India promoting corporatization? And in fact, this was one of the criticisms of earlier three farm laws as well. The farmers opposed it because one of the very important concern was government of India is pushing for corporatization of the, right, let's say, the agriculture practices here. So by recognizing, by certifying, by allowing these particular companies, is the government of India again promoting corporatization of the companies here? And if corporatization is done, obviously there will be a concern of, right, basically companies working for profit at the interest, at the cost of the interest of the farmers. Simple terms, the companies will have more power. The farmers will be at the right at the expense of the companies. They will be dependent on the companies. The companies will earn profit. They will leverage their position, increase the price, earn more profit, but the farmers will continue to suffer. So these are some of the concerns which have been raised by the Kisan Sabhas against the idea of a draft seed bill. And can I go forward now? Next article, please do let me know in the chat section. Can I move forward now? Great. Thanks a lot. Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inalienable part of India. Minister of External Affairs. What is the debate? What is the issue here? What you need to understand? Simple. An Indian citizen who is residing in UK was traveling to Japan. And because she was traveling to Japan, there was a stopover in China. In that airport, she stopped, or she was basically shifting from one plane service to another plane. And when you go through the immigration like this, the Chinese authorities caught hold of her. They looked at her passport and they simply said, this particular passport is not acceptable. It is an invalid passport. Why? Apparently, she is an Indian citizen who is born in Arunachal Pradesh. Simple. Indian citizen born in Arunachal Pradesh. And the contention of the Chinese authorities is that Arunachal Pradesh is not a part of India. Arunachal Pradesh is part of China, they argue. Although, right, since independence, it is part of India, has voted for multiple elections, has been part and parcel of India. Their contention is no, 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 no. It is an illegal occupation. Arunachal Pradesh is not part of India. It is part of China, they argue. And so argument is very simple. They caught hold of this particular passenger, and according to her statement, she was made to wait for more than 18 hours. No proper treatment was given to her. Treatment in the sense, the space to stay, food, water supply, etc. She was humiliated by the Chinese authorities. And all of these particular claims, the Chinese spokesperson, when she gave the press conference, they basically said nothing of this has been done. All of this is fault. All of these particular statements are false. We have treated her according to the laws of the Chinese government. And of course, please understand this. Why does China basically keep on raking up this particular claim? They believe in the concept of five finger, five finger policy. Please remember this. Five finger policy, which was given by Mao. Right? Five finger policy. According to their claims, India doesn't accept, we should also not accept. According to their claims, Tibet is like a palm. Tibet is like a palm, and there are five fingers, right hand side like this. There are five fingers basically representing five regions A lot of them which are part of India. Which are part of India. Right? What are the five finger or five regions that they basically claim the right, let's say the right or ownership over? They basically claim over or ownership over Ladakh. They have claimed ownership over Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, and Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh. So, according to the Chinese claims, these particular regions, that is Ladakh, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, which are part of India, they claim that no, 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 it is right, not part of India, it is part of China. Basically, this particular treatment of an Indian citizen has raked up a diplomatic issue between both of these countries now. The MEA spokesperson gave a clarification that a very strict demarche has been issued to the Chinese authorities. And the Chinese authorities yesterday in a statement, the spokesperson stated that all of these, the statements which have been given by the Indian national are not correct. These are false. And she claimed the fact, or she basically stated that Arunachal Pradesh is a South Tibet. It is a South Tibet and it is part of China now. What you need to understand in all of this particular debate that is happening now, simple. In recent times, there is a movement towards normalization of relations between India and China. After 2020, the relations between both of these countries took a hit. We are slowly and steadily moving towards normalization. But these kind of, let's say, activities conducted by various Chinese authorities essentially will derail the process, will delay the process, will essentially again push back the relations by multiple years like that. Right, so these are certain important points associated with the article. And by the way, this is not the first time that Chinese authorities have done something like this. Back in the year 2023, there was a sports team that was going from India to China to represent in a particular sport in 2023. And in that particular team, there were three players from Arunachal Pradesh. The Chinese authorities issued stapled visas to these athletes. Stapled visas. You must have heard of this. Right? Chinese authorities issued stapled visas to these athletes. India protested, and finally, India decided we will not participate in the game altogether. As a protest, we are withdrawing. What is the basic idea of a stapled visa? Visas are issued to you, and these are given right in a form of a document. These are put on, let's say, a passport. Rather than putting this on a passport, they simply issued a piece of paper which was stapled, pinned to the passport. And basically it was pinned or stapled to the passport. So government of India said this is unacceptable, and finally we withdrew from the games altogether. So anyways, so these are certain important points. Please keep a note of all of this. Next, Supreme Court of India has reprimanded the governments over CCTV compliance. CCTV compliance. What is the argument here? Back in the year 2020, please make a note of this. And when I say note, don't have to write down. After the class is over, in our Telegram channel, this particular PPT will be uploaded. Somebody was asking, where can I get the PPT? That is where you will get the PPT. So in 2020 judgment, Paramveer Singh Saini versus Baljit Singh, the Supreme Court of India issued an order. What was the order? In all the police stations, in the states as well as union territories, along with any agency which has the right to arrest and interrogate, any agency which has the right to arrest and interrogate an individual, there shall be installation or there must be installation of CCTVs. There must be installation of CCTVs. Why? Then is very simple. In case of India, there have been multiple instances in the past, and in this year alone, where there has been instances of reporting of custodial deaths, custodial torture, where the forces or police forces have used right torture to make a person agree to a crime, whether they have committed or not committed the crime. I'm pretty sure you must have seen this in multiple movies yourself. Of course, that is movie, but does it happen in real life? Of course, yes, multiple instances have been reported. And the Supreme Court of India is of the viewpoint that this is not acceptable. It is against the fundamental right which is given under Article 21. It is not acceptable. And that is the reason this particular order was issued. And as such, please understand the government of India, or let's say the discussion associated with police brutality or brutality in, right, let's say custody, etc. That has been one of the discussions in the parliament as well. Back in the year 2010, remember all of this. Back in the year 2010, Lok Sabha passed, right, a bill against torture, bill to prevent tortures. Back in the year 2010, this particular bill lapsed. In the year 2024, a similar bill, a private member bill has been introduced in Rajya Sabha. It is still pending, it is yet to be taken up or passed. But in addition to this, Law Commission, Law Commission of India in the year 2017, in its 273rd report has discussed the idea of approving, right, or basically India ratifying, right, this particular United Nations Convention Against Torture. Right, UNCAT. The Law Commission in 2017 has recommended that the government of India should ratify, I repeat, ratify UNCAT. And before you start typing, sir, what is UNCAT? Please have a look at the statement here, full form here. United Nations Convention Against Torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. United Nations introduced this back in the year 1984. It was approved, adopted, and finally came into force from the year 1987. It has come into force from 1987. And I know some of you will be thinking, sir, why does it take time for the implementation, or let's say acceptance, as well as it being implemented or coming into force? Whenever you talk about these kind of agreements, please remember this. In the international area or international relations, there is generally a requirement or a threshold for the member countries to adopt them, ratify them. For the member countries to adopt and ratify them. And when you meet the minimum required number, and right, these numbers are met, the law or the right act will automatically come into force. For example, this is the assignment to all of you now. For example, very recently, there is a fish agreement that has been ratified and implemented. Ratified and implemented. Right? Under this particular the World Trade Organization's fish agreement, there was a requirement of two-thirds of the member countries to ratify this. There was a requirement of two-thirds of the member countries to ratify this. Once the ratification happens, only then it would come into force. Very recently, 4 countries have ratified this, and with ratification by these 4 countries, that is Kenya, Brazil, Tonga, and Vietnam, the total number of member countries under WTO hit 112, which is more than two-thirds of the total number of members under WTO. That is 166. Total is 166, two-thirds will come just over 111. And that is the reason this particular agreement has come into force. Now, what is your assignment? Please read the article, update the current affairs. Update the current affairs. And those who will simply say, sir, I'm too busy with UPSC preparation. Can you tell me one consolidated area where I can read all of these articles? Understand all of these articles? Simple. Every Thursday, there is a video uploaded wherein I am only discussing, by the way, my name is Shyam Kaggod. I am only discussing the important newspaper articles related to economy from different newspapers. Every Thursday it is uploaded. Watch it, download the notes, but more importantly, revise. Okay, let's go forward. The Law Commission also has recommended that India should ratify UNCAT. India has signed the agreement. India signed the agreement, but it has not yet ratified the agreement. So, what has been the issue? According to NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, according to NCRB, annually between 2000 to 2022, 2000 to 2022, annually more than 80 custodial deaths happen in India. Annually, more than 80 custodial deaths happen in India. In fact, if you want to remember the exact number, 92 custodial deaths per annum. 92 custodial deaths per annum. So that is basically the reason why Supreme Court of India has issued an order to the states, union territories, along with many central government agencies. Now the update is very simple. Only 11 states have submitted the report stating that yes, we have implemented whatever your guidelines are. And in recent times, in this year itself, multiple custodial deaths have taken place in only one state, that is Rajasthan. And based on whatever is happening, suo moto action has been taken by the Supreme Court of India. Now, Supreme Court of India is asking the states, please submit the data. Central government, submit the data. How effectively you have implemented the guidelines which were issued back in the year 2020. And because right, many of these states and the central government have not submitted the data, Supreme Court of India has reprimanded them. Supreme Court of India has reprimanded, asked for an update right in the next hearing. Okay, so associated with this MCQ, let's solve it. Consider the following statements regarding UNCAT. It was adopted by United Nations General Assembly in 1984 and has come into force in 1986, 1987. Yes. India is a signatory of UNCAT and has ratified it. Look at the second part of the statement. Has India ratified it? No. India has not ratified, it has signed the agreement. Second statement is incorrect. The right option for the question is option A, only one statement is true. Now, next article, Japan China relations. Very interesting thing is happening in South China Sea now. Japan China relations. Japan has scrambled aircraft over Chinese drone near Taiwan. Now, why this particular dispute is arising right now? Listen to me very carefully. Before that, please have a look at the map. This is China, this is Taiwan, and this is a region of Japan. Right? This is a region of Japan. Now, very recently, there was a question asked to the Prime Minister of Japan, Sanai Takachi. At the first ever Prime Minister in Japan, please, woman Prime Minister in Japan, please remember that. Please remember that. The first ever woman Prime Minister in Japan. More than 100 prime ministers have basically formed government in Japan. She is the first ever woman prime minister. Okay, now let's start. Very recently, a question was asked in the parliament to Japan's prime minister. What if China will attack Taiwan? Because China says that Taiwan is part of China itself. And if required, we are ready to apply force and take over the, right, let's say, the island like this. Now, this question was raised in the parliament, and the prime minister basically stated that if China ever attacks Taiwan, it will be considered, it will be considered as something that is having an impact on Japan's survival. Understand the statement. It will be something that will have an impact on or that will have an influence over Japan's survival. And this is a very important statement because until now, the Prime Minister of Japan have never given a direct answer to this kind of a question. They have always opted to take a right middle path. They have never basically given a direct answer. And when this kind of an answer was given, there is a legal argument which is associated with this particular statement or the wording of the statement. What is the meaning of the wording of the statement? If this question arises, what is an event that will have a direct or indirect impact on Japan's survival? There is a law in Japan which was passed in 2015 which states that in such cases, Japan can use its forces. Japan can use its forces to prevent this kind of an event from happening. So, because there is a legal right argument associated with the forming or the wording of the statement, Chinese government did not take this lightly. Chinese authorities did not take this lightly. Immediately, there was a statement that was issued by the diplomatic representatives in China. They asked that this kind of a statement is unacceptable because Taiwan is part of China itself. And not just this, certain decisions were also taken. For example, the Chinese authorities asked the importers of certain seafood from Japan to stop importing. They asked him stop importing, right, seafood from Japan. Not just this, certain civil aviation companies which would carry the passengers to Japan from China, even these civil aviation companies were asked to stop carrying or providing the services. Right, so certain events have taken place very recently because of the statement given by the Japanese Prime Minister. But on the other side, the approval rating in Japan for the Prime Minister is actually increasing because the citizens or the people in Japan are basically saying, yes, we should have to stand up. We do not have to give up to this kind of a bullying tactic of Chinese authorities. Right, so on one side this is happening and the other side this is also happening. But recently what has happened? There is a drone that that was found to be a Chinese drone very near to Taiwan. And because the Chinese drone was found, Japanese authorities have scrambled, have basically taken certain aircrafts, have gone to that particular region. So this is the latest update. And before this, there was one more news article as well. That is the Chinese premier Xi Jinping has spoken to the president of USA, has raised this particular issue. It has raised this particular issue regarding Taiwan. Reason is USA has very close relations with Japan. Very recently, the president of USA has visited Japan, and USA also has a security relation, defense relations with Japan. So this particular talk also have been conducted very recently between USA's head as well as the Chinese head. Done. So these are certain important points associated with the article. Next, net FDI negative for second straight month in September. What is the importance of the article? Simple. What do you mean by net FDI? FDI coming into India and FDI going out of India. The difference between that is called as net FDI. Difference between that is called as net FDI. In case of the month of September, right, and a month before that, the net FDI in India has become negative. It has become negative, meaning what? The total amount of dollars coming in is smaller compared to the total amount of dollars which are going out. Again, I'm talking about FDI. Somebody at 7007 PK saying export minus import. My dear, export and imports are talked in the context of goods and services. I'm not talking about goods and services. I'm talking about capital, investments associated with assets, physical assets. That is what I'm talking. So capital inflow is greater than, sorry, capital inflow has become smaller than capital outflow. Why? What is the reason? And what is the issue? Issue is very simple. Government of India has a target of attracting $100 billion annually. FDI worth of $100 billion annually. But in recent times, it has been seen that many foreign companies which have invested in India, right, which have invested in India, they are taking their money and moving out of India. They are selling their assets in India, they are moving out of India. They are earning profit in India, they are taking the money out of India. Repatriation. They will use the term repatriation of the profits. And not just this, Indian companies investing outside India also has increased. As a result of all of this, the net FDI for the Indian economy for the second consecutive month has become negative. And not just this also has a larger implication. Why is that FDI inflow is not increasing according to our expectation? Why is the inflow of investment not increasing? Why are we not able to attract more and more FDI? There are multiple reasons. For example, certain policies of government of India is having a negative impact on investor sentiment. Although, again, although many policies have promoted investments in India. Best example, Make in India initiative, PLI, etc. And there are many other issues, for example, skilled labor availability, the global issues such as the policies of government of USA, etc. So many of these particular issues have hurt amount of investment that is coming into India. Okay, right. So these are certain points. Now there is an MCQ. Why is this particular MCQ given? Please look at the statement given here. The World Investment Report is published by whom? And why? The reason why I've given this particular question. According to the recent World Investment Report, which is published by UNCTAD, 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 a lot of you are writing WTO. No, UNCTAD, UNCTAD, right? United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. UNCTAD publishes World Investment Report. According to this particular report, India, in terms of attracting FDI, is ranked at 15th position. It is ranked at 15th position. Traditionally, it has been ranked below 10, but in recent times, it has gone above 10th ranking. It has been ranked at 15th. Okay. Now, finally, a factual information article. China lends to the world. Right? What are the points that you need to remember? China lends to the world. Lot of data has been provided. Don't worry about the data. Focus only on these particular points. Between 2000 to 2023, from the 2000 to 2023, China has issued a total amount of loan of over $2 trillion. $2 trillion. And look at the number of countries to whom they have given one or the other form of a loan. 179 countries out of totally 217 countries have taken the loan in one or the other way from the Chinese authorities, Chinese led or Chinese owned banks, etc. etc. 179 countries out of 217. And coming to the most important doubt in your mind, sir, India, has it taken any kind of a loan from China? Is there any kind of a loan given in India? Of course, yes. As of 2023, right, Indian entities have borrowed, right, $11 billion, $11 billion from China. But what are the important points? What do you need to understand in the context of this? One, there is always a concern that China, whenever they provide these kind of loans, they are not doing a charity on you. They have certain interest to enter your market. They want you to make certain policy changes so that their investors, their companies, their products accessibility in your market increase. And if you do not make the policy changes, right, if you do not make the policy changes in that particular context, they will try to leverage these investments and try to get that particular changes done. And third very important point, lot of these particular countries earlier who have taken the loan are essentially very poor countries. Very poor countries. Low income countries. For example, Sri Lanka has taken a huge amount of loan. Pakistan has taken a huge amount of loan or investments. Or for that matter, even the African countries have got access to these kind of loans or the investment. When they are not able to repay, they will fall into a debt trap of China. But more importantly, the fourth very important point, in recent times, how China is investing money in other countries, the methodology has changed. Rather than giving loans for the developmental purposes, for example, right, let's say renewable energy projects. For example, right, let's say the education related projects or sanitation related projects. Now, Chinese companies as well as the Chinese owned banks are giving more and more loans for commercial projects. This kind of a shift has been observed in recent times, which has been done by China. So these are certain very important points associated with, right, these particular the graphs, the pointers, the factual data that has been thrown across the article in the page. Do not read the complete article, not relevant. Only these points are relevant for you. Okay. So these are the articles as well as the concepts and questions I wanted to discuss with you people. That's it from my side in today's particular session. If you like the discussion, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. See you tomorrow sharp at 10 a.m. with a list of other articles from the Hindu newspaper. Take care. See you tomorrow.